live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Man, oh man, oh man. If you think Trump lied a lot, and he did, you should hear the whoppers that Trudeau is spreading in Europe. I tell you, Trump would be proud. Our prime minister is, well, he's something else, folks. He's something else. First of all, he is still assuring Ukraine and Europe that good old Canada, don't worry, we're right there with the brave defenders of Ukraine, shoulder to shoulder with the fighters, says Trudeau. All the while knowing bloody well that our military pantry is bare. I mean, it was bare before we gave a few things away to Ukraine. There's nothing left. Well, I suppose we could give them some 45-year-old tanks. That's all we got. Well, but the only problem there is we only have 83 of them for the entire country. I guess we could give them some of our 40-year-old airplanes if they could make the flight across. I don't know. But I mean, it's just BS, okay? Whale poop. It's just outrageous lies. But he knows that we have nothing more to give. I mean, folks, it is now, do you realize it is now a month to the day since Russia invaded Ukraine? 1 month. Okay? And we still have not allowed a single Ukrainian refugee, aside for 2 children, into this country. Oh, there are plans, apparently, they're speeding things up, etc., etc. But while Poland admits almost 2 million, almost 4 million Ukrainians have fled to other countries. They've opened their borders. No, we've got to have the red tape, the visas, and so a month later. Can you imagine that son of a biscuit box standing there? Oh well, we're with the Ukrainian people, the great brave defenders of democracy, fighting for us all. We'll do anything we can. They won't even allow a refugee into the country. But it's just a bucket full of lies. And you know, we've imposed a few sanctions, very few, but there are a lot of sanctions we have not as yet imposed, and we could and should. I don't know if any of you have heard of the Magninsky Law. This was passed by the Canadian Parliament in 2017. There's quite a story. Magninsky was a Russian lawyer who exposed, among other things, thievery going on by Putin and some of his friends. So they threw him into jail and they tortured him to death. And in response, the United States was the first to step forward here. They passed what they called a Magninsky Law in honor of Sergei Magninsky, who was tortured to death in a Russian prison. Canada adopted the Magninsky Law in 2017. Among other things, it allows us to freeze all of the assets of any person or company operated or owned by anyone in Russia right now. And it allows us any country that we deem to be contravening human rights, etc. So we would have every reason, every right, and every duty, for that matter, to pass the Magninsky Law. And finally, a couple of commentators in this country are beginning to ask this question: how come we have not as yet imposed the Magninsky Law? This, as I say, would allow us to freeze some of the assets of some of these companies that are owned by Russians, among other things. So that's just one sanction. So when Trudeau talks about all the sanctions, once again, it's just a lie. He's lying through his teeth. Lie, lie, lie. But the biggest whoppers that Trudeau is spreading concern energy. This is really quite astonishing. He's over there assuring all his our European allies, we will help you out with your energy crisis. And in fact, our Minister of Natural Resources, Jonathan Williamson, is supposed to make some announcement this afternoon. He may have already made it, I don't know, to the effect that we are going to increase our oil exports. That's pure and utter bullshit. How are we going to increase our oil exports? I mean, first of all, how can you use the word increase when in fact we don't have any exports except to the United States? We don't have any exports other than the United States because we can't get the oil or natural gas to tidewater, to ocean, so it can be shipped. Okay, we all know that. We've covered that. So I guess when Williamson and Trudeau talk about, oh, we're going to, we're going to really, and he's sort of implying that somehow we'll solve all of your energy problems. He's lying through his teeth. The only way that we can increase, I guess, exports would be if we manage to ship more oil down through a pipeline through to Texas, one of the refineries there, sell it to the Americans at a substantial discount, as we do every day, and then the United States will ship it across. I guess this would allow Trudeau to say, oh, we're helping. I mean, it's just astonishing. And you know what? Very few people in this country really understand the logistics here. We don't have an oil pipeline leading to the East Coast. Energy East was halted. We don't have a pipeline other than one small line, the Trans Mountain Pipeline to the West Coast. And that pipeline supplies the city of Vancouver. It's not available for export. So we can't, in other words, when Trudeau says, oh, we can help you, you can't. Now let's talk about the natural gas, which I've done before too, I know. But we've got to get this through people's minds. Only about a month ago, it was the Trudeau government that canceled a giant liquid natural gas project for the Saguenay in Quebec. That project would have been able to produce 11 million tons of natural gas every year for export to Europe. It would have supplied all of Europe's needs, would have allowed Europe to cut off supplies from Russia, etc. But the federal government, the Trudeau government, canceled it, just as they've canceled 17 other natural gas projects. We cannot export, except to the United States, either natural gas or oil. We have it. We got lots of it, but we can't get it other than to the United States, which, of course, because it's a monopoly buyer, gives us a huge discount. And Trudeau is over there lying through his teeth, pretending that we're going to give all sorts of more things to the Ukraine when we have nothing else to give them, and refusing to even impose serious sanctions, refusing still to allow refugees, but somehow or other, we're the good guy. Good old Canada. Oh, my God. I mean, it's just astonishing, folks. I know I've covered some of this territory, but the rest of the media is not dealing with this. You can be sure that when Williamson makes his announcement this afternoon about going to increase exports, that nobody in the media will have the nerve to point out that, well, by that he means we're going to ship more to the United States at a discount, and they in turn may or may not ship it across for export. I mean, first of all, the United States is screaming for more oil. They have begged Iran to give them oil. They've begged Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, give us more oil, give us more oil. So you're telling me that if we increase our export to the United States, you don't think they're going to use it? They're going to sell that? Oh, come on. He's lying. I mean, so Williamson is going to lie to us. And of course, the media is not going to pick up on any of this. Why? Well, because there's a very good chance that Pierre Poilievre is going to lead the Conservative Party. And if Pierre Poilievre becomes prime minister of this country, God help us, the media, this billions of dollars that Trudeau doles out to bribe the media won't be available anymore. So the media is going to. Is the media going to point out how Trudeau is lying, how Williamson is lying? I don't think so. Maybe the Sun. Maybe the Sun. Anyway, folks, if you've got any thoughts on this or anything else, I'm going to say this. Not only do we have one chief liar, and that's Justin Trudeau, he has now been joined by a second liar. So we now have two chief liars leading our country. That, of course, would be Justin Trudeau and the infamous Jagmeet Singh. You say, well, what has he lied about? Well, I'll tell you what both of them lied about, the buggers. Both of those people, and look it up, I checked some of the dialogue. They both were asked and promised during the election campaign, the last one, that they would not form a coalition government. It's a blatant lie. That's what we have now, a coalition government. Read Brian Lilly. In fact, if you don't believe that what exists today, check any dictionary for the definition of a coalition. So we're led in this country by two liars. There was a Freudian slip. Two liars. Trump would be. You know what? All of you people, all of you liberals and NDP out there who, Trump is a big liar. Trump's a big liar. Well, I'm going to tell you something. He would be proud of Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh. We now have three major liars in North America: Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau, and Donald Trump. Beautiful, beautiful. What a triumvirate. Oh, my goodness. Any response coming in so far, John, please?
Absolutely. By the way, listener, thank you for sharing this on your social media. You are the best advertising we've got. I cannot stress that enough. If you love this show, please help promote it to your friends. 613-413-2217 is the number to call the show. Text the show.
Sorry, John. I just want to. I'll let you finish. The sharing is very important. I look every day. We got 400 or 500 views or whatever it is, and maybe 10 or 15 shares. Folks, this is the only way that we can promote the program. And if you think it's important, even if you're a liberal or NDP and hate me, if you think that freedom of the press is important, that it's important to have a second view of things, just share. That's all. It's easy. You just push the word share, right? That's all you have to do.
Sir.
With your little finger. You can use any finger. Use your little pinky finger. Just push share. And you know what? You'd be doing us a great favor. Okay.
If you're really angry, use the middle finger.
But that's all that's all I ever ask of you. I'm not asking you to send money.
There you go.
I'm not asking you to send hugs or kisses or anything else. Just please share. Go ahead, John. Sorry to interrupt.
Nope, that's okay. It's your show. You're not interrupting me at all. I'm just here to do the heavy.
It's our show.
No, well, thank you. I'm just here to do the heavy lifting, really. Question: can it really be a coalition government? And I'm not arguing, but by the definition, can it be considered a coalition government if there are no NDP MPs in cabinet?
Absolutely. Check and Brian Lilly has done this for us. He checked, I think, 4 different dictionaries, their definition of a coalition. There's nothing in the definitions about having to have somebody in the cabinet. And by the way, we're getting some more and more details. And apparently one of the details in this agreement is that while there may not be an NDP member in the cabinet, apparently some NDP members, probably Singh and somebody else, are going to be sitting in some of these private meetings involved. Okay. So while they may not be officially members of the cabinet, apparently they're going to be sitting in some of these private cabinet meetings.
All right.
Beautiful. It's a coalition government. And you know what? Even the left-wing media out there is admitting this. It's a coalition, folks. They lied to us. Surprise. Go ahead, John.
All right, nothing like a good old Canadian talk show with a call from California. JF, you are on the air with Lowell Green. Go ahead, sir.
JF, let me ask you something. Hi, JF. Let me ask you something. To my knowledge, I've been doing as much research as I can. The Magninsky Law was first implemented by the United States. And I'm not sure if they have implemented the Magninsky Law again, this time against Russia. I can't find that out. Would you by any chance know?
It's probably on Hunter Biden's laptop. we could probably figure that out as soon as we.
I'd love to
I
know.
have no idea.
Because the United States pioneered, the United States pioneered this. We in Canada passed it in 2017, but this is a very draconian law. There's no question. It allows us, in our case, to freeze the assets of any Russian or any Russian company that country that's abusing human rights. Go ahead, Jeff, please.
Yeah, wasn't that in Cuba? We did that for Cuba.
No. This was Russia. Magninsky was a Russian lawyer who caught Putin and a number of other leading Russians stealing billions of dollars. He reported this.
Okay.
He was thrown into prison and he was tortured to death. And in response, the United States passed what they call the Magninsky Law. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Well, this is more concerning for yesterday and what was lacking in leadership, and
Sure.
today, and it was really interesting. I think everybody has a CEO mentality. They only think past 2 years. Now, the dangerous thing I find about Trudeau, he is spending so much that who would want to be next in power? I mean, there's no more room or to bleed out. I mean, you'll have to cut. And everybody's going to be angry at the Conservative government if they start cutting, and they'll blame the Conservative government for that. So long-term planning, I find, is missing from leadership. And also ethic laws. There's no accountability if government break laws. I mean, Trudeau was fined $500 for breaking ethic laws. $500. If you left your house during Christmas to see family, you were charged $5,000. Where's the balance in that?
No, you're making some very good points. Actually, you're making an excellent point when it comes to expenses, because as you know, the coalition government requires this government to spend a lot more money on dental care, pharmaceutical care, et cetera, et cetera. And we all seem to agree that we got to spend a whole lot more money on our military. We're billions behind what we should be spending for the military. Where the money is going to come from, particularly since with the NDP now running the government, there's going to be essentially they're going to shut down the oil and gas, which is a number one creator of wealth and tax money. So if we shut down our number one source of income and double our spending, where's the money going to come from? Beats the hell out of me. Thank you for the call. You made a very good point, sir, and I thank you. Go ahead, John.
I got a lot of texts and comments coming in. Let's get a word in, though, for Shields before we get to that. We are 18 minutes in. So
Good idea. Once again, let's talk a little bit about the money here. I'm looking at the website. Thank you very much. Shields, as I've pointed out before, operates out of Pakenham. They've been there since 1947. Same family since 1947. Because they're operating out of, and I've done some research in this, because they operate there, their cost of operation is a little bit lower. As you can imagine, rents are lower in Pakenham, et cetera, et cetera. And I won't go further than that, other than to say that in many cases, they're able to shave a few dollars off the cost. The markup on appliances is not that great to begin with. But if your cost of operation is a little bit lower, then you can pass those savings on, which Shields manages to do in most cases. Compare the prices. They're all there for you to see. They're very upfront with their pricing. Just check out the website. It's an excellent website, shields.ca. Over to you, John.
Steve says, because of the Justin and Sing's agreement, we have to worry if Doug Ford does not get a majority in the upcoming Ontario election, even though he's 10 points ahead of DeLuca. Next in power will be when Mom says, wait till your daddy gets home, says Shane. Okay. Let me see. Let's get to a text. I have no idea. I think they're talking to each other a little. We're just here to watch the chat. Let me see a text at 613-413-2217. This comes from someone in Alberta. Question for all listeners who are Liberal and NDP. We need to hear your answer. How do we pay for all these programs, which the Liberals and NDP will be pushing through? The government has demolished our mining sector, which at one time was Canada's economic driver. Canadians are taxed too high and cannot handle another tax increase. Corporate tax increases will drive away more foreign investment. We can't borrow money due to the interest rates starting to climb. Boy, didn't see this coming. The Americans are going towards Buy America. Biden giving the auto sector major incentives to build all electric cars in the States. Ouch for Canada. So the question is simple. How do we pay for these programs? As
You know
Lowell
how
would
we
say, the
yeah.
lines are open.
Well, yeah, that's the overriding question, isn't it? The fact of the matter is we won't be able to pay. We now have a debt of $1.3 trillion, interest payments over $1 billion a month. By the time the NDP Liberal coalition is finished in 3 years' time, the debt probably will be close to 2 trillion, and the payments, the interest payments, will probably be about $1.5 billion a month. So, and who's going to pay for it? Your children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, great great grandchildren. They'll really thank us for it. Go ahead, John, please.
All right. Let's go back to the beginning when the comments started rolling in. The Croatian leader had a lot to say about Trudeau, says
Yeah,
Melissa.
did you see that? That's pretty wild.
And says, this is the only place we hear the bare facts laid out for all to hear. Most of the media, including Rob Snow, dances around it. He's such a disappointment and has become a tremendous weenie bore. Oh, boy. Be like us, Trudeau says to the EU, and lo and behold, the EU says, no thanks. Eileen says some of the European leaders have his number. Lori says somebody called Trudeau a dictator. Who is going to trust him? To Twitch, twitch.tv/blast the radio, where Terry says, wait until Putin sees our gender-neutral military uniforms. He'll be shaking in his boots.
That'll make us crap his pants. Oh yeah, no question about that. He'll have a pant load after seeing that. We're going to have, yeah. You know what? This is so typical. I mentioned yesterday here in Ottawa, we got all of the problems, but the big debate, the big thing is we're going to switch from gas-fired lawnmowers to electric lawnmowers. That was the big thing in Ottawa. So the big thing here we are with the military. Our tanks are 45 years old. Our planes are 40 years old. Our frigates are 30 years old. The submarines won't. They all leak. The screen doors won't hold water. Whatever the hell it is. But and we've got all sorts. What have we lost now? About 427 different generals have all resigned because they can't keep their pants on. But the big problem is we're going to have gender neutral dress code. Oh, sacre bleu blanc.
Well, maybe the new pants don't come off.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, and they so this how many scandals, sexual scandals, and so forth. So seriously, how many generals have we now lost? Do we even have a general left anymore? I don't know. Go ahead.
Hey, Dan's on YouTube, and he of course, Dan thinks every time you wink, you're saluting the devil. So, hi, Dan. Nice to have you on board. Trudeau always forgets about agriculture. Colored diesel now $1.50. Fertilizer prices doubled. Groceries are just going to keep going up. Don't blame us farmers. Let me see. Let's go to Anne. At least our media is hearing how little Europe thinks of Trudeau. Nancy says he's nothing but a liar. 2 country reps called Trudeau on his love for China and his behavior towards Canadians. Let's go to email, lowell@blasttheradio.com. Hi, Lowell. I feel that so much of the Liberal Go Green plan works well for Quebec, but not so well for the rest of Canada. Quebec has more than enough electricity generation, while Ontario relies on aging nuclear power plants. Quebec keeps high charges to route the electricity out of Labrador, making their generation plant almost unviable. Quebec does not want an oil pipeline while we lose jobs in Alberta and cannot help our friends in Europe who need that oil. Imagine if we had cheap Canadian gasoline and fuel oil available. How much would that help our economy, asks Paul.
Greatly. Unbelievable. To say nothing of the billions of dollars of foreign income that we would have here that we could use to pay for some of the debt. Let me just talk about Quebec for a moment. A lot of people don't know that Quebec has sufficient oil under its soil and sufficient gas to supply the entire province and probably have plenty left over. But Quebec refuses to drill. There is a site called Old Harry, which is near the Labrador border, and Magdalen Island as well, that is just loaded. In fact, there is so much oil in Old Harry that it leaks, like the oil sands, it leaks up above the ground. Okay, there's puddles of oil all around, but Quebec refused. Now I don't know how many people in Quebec know this, that if Quebec would drill and supply its own oil and its own gas, every resident of Quebec probably would have enough money to have 2 Cadillacs in the driveway. But Quebec said, "Oh no, we'll instead of that, we'll take money from the West through equalization payments." But I tell you, people in Quebec, You have enough oil, enough gas to be totally self-sufficient. If you wanted, if you had a leader with guts, with courage to stand up to the environmental movement, you probably would be able to buy gasoline in Gatineau today for about 80 cents a liter, maybe less. This is not me making this up, folks. This has been well documented over the years. Go ahead, John. Did you know, John? Did you know that Quebec has all kinds of oil?
I did not know that.
You know what? Don't believe me. Just Google Old Harry and see what you see there. You'll be amazed.
Believe you brought that up on the show probably about a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago. I've talked about this before.
They cleared it, and then okay, yeah. Hey, Dan, when not accusing us of being Satanists, is actually in with a comment. He loves the fact that we have a devil for our logo on PTR. Okay. Who gave the oil oligarchs permission to pollute our water, our air, our soil in the first place? Asks Dan.
That's a stupid question.
I thought you'd think that. Kathy says the EU is catching on to who and what Trudeau is. They don't have much respect for him. Let me see. JP says, when Justin flies back from Europe, is he bringing back some Ukrainian refugees on his empty Airbus?
Nope.
Craig asks, Trudeau was called a dictator in front of the entire EU yesterday. Why isn't the Canadian media revealing it? Trudeau is a disgusting representative of all of us. Where is our media?
Well, it was the Croatian, I don't know, some delegate from the Croatia that he overstated the case. He talked about Trudeau trampling old women with horses, which is, not true. But some of the things that he said but the fact that he said it in front of European leaders, I found fascinating. Go ahead, John.
Terry says German MEP Christine Anderson trampled over Trudeau like a horse at a freedom rally. Okay.
I didn't see that. Who was that? Read that again.
That was German MEP Christine Anderson. Apparently trampled over Trudeau like a horse at a freedom rally, according to Terry. Jeff says, we're told that every Ontarian owes $765 to cover the Hydro One debt. Where do I send the check to have that monthly debt retirement? I don't know what the word is.
Taken off my bill.
Yeah, there you go. Take it off my bill. Let's just jump to that. Thank you. You're reading it on the screen too, Lowell. You're helping me out. Thank you. Yeah. Time to go back to horse and buggy, says Chrissy. Old Harry, according to Satan's Playmate, is leaching into waterways and causing damage. The Alberta oil sands was started to stop environmental damage to drinking water.
Good. There's somebody that's good for you. Yeah. Google Old Harry. It's amazing. And Magdalen Island apparently is just the oil. They say there's almost enough oil in Magdalen Island to supply the entire country, but Quebec refuses to drill. It's mad. It's mad. The environmental movement. I swear to God, when you talk about horse and buggy, I think that there are people, probably many of them in the environmental movement, that would like to see us go back to horse and buggies, stone axes. None of these people, of course, would ever use a stone axe themselves. They'd hire someone else to do it. Go ahead, please, John.
A couple of people are now posting links to Christine Anderson and her comments to Trudeau. So the links are there in the comments.
Okay,
Bill says,
look at that. Thank you.
Yep. Quebec says, Bill says Quebec will drill for oil the day after their independence. Very good. Robert says proof is evident yesterday when the Liberals and NDP joined together to defeat a Conservative motion to remove the GST and HST from gasoline sales. I swear most of the media, like Lisa LaFlamme, those on the CBC, like that evil Rosie Barton, etc., are waiting for a cushy Senate appointment from this government. Therefore, they cannot say anything bad against them. What else are we to think? Asks.
You know what? Talking about Rosie Barton and CBC and CTV is almost as bad as CBC now. When all of these panel discussions, do they ever have a single conservative voice? It's always, who's there? The Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, some young woman from God knows where, she, I don't know, works in some crisis center someplace. But there is never a Lowell Green or a Rex Murphy or a Brian Lilly. How come they never ask Brian Lilly to come on? How come they never ask me to come on? It's really quite. The bias is getting worse, and it's much more serious. Go ahead, John. We're almost out of time here.
We are. Lorraine says past Canadian general said this morning on TV that 10,000 immigrants in Canada from the Ukraine. Okay, where are they? She asks.
No, these are people. These are not refugees. They've come here. They may live here, have relatives here. They came. Some of them undoubtedly came before the attack. What I am saying is the real refugees, those who have been driven from their homes since the attack, only 2 children in the Toronto General Hospital. 1 month later, we do not have a single legitimate refugee in this country. Bunch of liars. Trump would be very proud of the leaders of this country today. Thank you all. We will be back.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.